kicked. Anybody who's talking this shit, that's it. You can get your ass kicked. Anybody who's talking this shit, that's it. You can get your ass kicked.
I'm so happy that you are here. I'm going to give a quick shout out to my wife, aka producer, aka fashion fashion person, right? She chose this shirt. So you tell me if you like it. Now, personally, I think the 3D effect is kind of cool. But would I wear this to go to Walmart? I don't know. Probably not. But I think the 3D effect's pretty gnarly. You know, you tell me. I don't know. So tonight's show, we're going to be talking about officer-involved shootings. Now, I had a couple close calls in my career, and it's kind of crazy when life presents you a situation where you think you might have to kill someone. Like you're there legally, you have a right, you have your badge, you have your gun, you've sworn to, protect the Constitution and our republic, right? But then when you get sent into a situation where it's your ass on the line now, I gotta tell you, man, it'll make you second guess. It'll scare you because it's not just about, God forbid, I have to hurt or harm someone. What's going to happen to me in the aftermath, right? Am I going to be crucified in the media? Am I going to have my employment taken away? I'm going to lose my house. Some states now, like I have friends that are cops in New York, and if I'm not mistaken, the NYPD, or sorry, New York State has eliminated qualified immunity for the police department. Now, if you don't know what that means that if you mess up or you get into a situation, the city or the state can say, hey, sorry, bro, you're on your own. Now, that doesn't happen in Nevada, at least not yet, or in the state of Texas. You typically have a union or some type of legal representation from the city or the state. Whoever you work for will step in to help you. God forbid you're caught in a pickle, right? But those kind of things make the officers second guess. They make them hesitate because they're thinking, if I shoot or harm this person, I might lose everything. Someone catches me on a cell phone video, and then if they perceive it in a wrong angle, it might seem as if I did something wrong. My life, at least financially and with stress and career, is over. And so it's scary. So tonight we're going to talk about OISs. I'm going to tell you one specific story about one where I was involved in that was a pivotal point in my career. In fact, shortly thereafter, I ended up retiring early because of the stress, not necessarily the stress of this particular call for service, as a job as a whole, and the toll it was taking on me and my family. So I decided to do a career change. Could I go back and be a cop? Absolutely. Would I love to? Probably. Would I have to get divorced to do it? Most likely. So that was not an option for me, so I decided to punch out and leave. Now, let's go back to 2014, August 9th specifically. There was an OIS that happened in Ferguson. Okay. You probably all know the story. There's a young man by the name of Michael Brown. He was 18 years old. Now, the media portrayed him as a child, as a small person. They showed pictures of him when he was 12. Okay. This is not a small dude. He was a large human being. Okay. He had an interaction with Officer Darren Wilson. And this interaction, many of you know how it went, or you certainly know how it was reported. Anyway, there was a 407 or a robbery call that comes out, a call for service. And the suspect was someone who matched the description of Mr. Brown and had a friend with him, or some would say an accomplice. And then Darren Wilson met up with him in the street. They had a confrontation. According to Officer Wilson's testimony, Mr. Brown was punching him in the face, grabbing at his gun. An interaction, escalated to a point where he used deadly force. He shot and killed Mr. Brown, who was an 18-year-old man, not a child, a large person of stature. And all in all, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy for the Brown family. It's a tragedy for the police officer who's not going to live with that on his conscience for the rest of his life. I'm going to tell you guys, I have been in multiple situations, and praise God, I never had to kill anyone. I've had several very, very, very close calls. You're going to hear about one of them tonight. And I tell you this story only because I want to make it relevant to what you've heard in the past. Because when you're a police officer and you go into these situations, it's scary, man. It's really scary. Now, granted, you got to go do your job, but you don't want to hurt or kill nobody. No one signs up for that. And if they do, they typically get caught and fired because we don't like them. There's nobody who hates bad cops worse than the good cops because they make us look bad. Now, the thing that really kind of irritated me about the whole Michael Brown situation was what the media did after that and how they crucified this officer. Do you think Officer Wilson will ever have the opportunity to go work in law enforcement ever again? In fact, if he sees this show, he'll probably be like, yep, I'm doing whatever I'm doing now. But it's probably not that, unless, of course, he got lucky and he moved to some podunk small department who didn't care and said, hey, no one will probably recognize you. Let's just hire you and you're a good guy. And they gave him a chance. But the media portrayed this as hands up, don't shoot. Now, the autopsy, the coroner's report, and everything ever documented as far as physical evidence was able to debunk this, to say that this never even happened. The hands up, don't shoot is a fallacy. It never really happened. Now, I'm not here to adjudicate that case. This is not what this is about. I'm just trying to give you an illustration of what it feels to be on this side of it and the second guessing you do instantly, sadly, though, in a life or death situation. So I'm going to go back and tell you a little story about something that happened in 2014 as well, a little earlier than the Michael Brown incident. There was a big standoff in southern Nevada. There was a big thing between Mr. Cliven Bundy, the Bundy Ranch, and the Bureau of Land Management Police Division. Now, there was a standoff because Mr. Bundy had some cows grazing on land that he didn't own. I know, like, cows eating grass, right? Big freaking deal. Who gives a shit? Not a big deal, but then they warned him over and over and over. And that's like telling your neighbor, hey, get off my lawn, get off my lawn. Eventually, I'm going to call the cops and have your ass arrested, right? This is my property. You don't belong here. Go away, right? So the BLM folks showed up and they said, you know what? If you don't want to remove your cattle, we'll do it for you. So they started loading up his cows. And of course, this set off all types of fireworks. So we had people that were coming in from the sovereign citizens type folks, the militias from up in the Northwest and the center of the country. They were coming out there to participate in this fight back against oppression, or at least perceived oppression. BLM oppressing Mr. Bundy. And there was a big standoff. I tell you, man, 10-ish cops with 100-ish people pointing rifles at them. Big problem. So, of course, the cops, being smart, acquiesced and said, hey, we don't need a fight. We don't need a standoff. Let's just move on. Okay. And they were able to quell that. Now, they later went back and pressed charges on those that were pointing guns and aiming and pointing. That's a big statute in Nevada. And they prosecuted them smartly, meaning not in this situation where there were hundreds of people out there. We are grossly outmatched, right? But as a part of this group, there was a couple involved, okay? I'm going to tell you about a story about a young man and a young woman by the name of Jared and Amanda Miller. Now, they're sovereign citizens. If you're not familiar with sovereign citizens, go to YouTube. You're probably on YouTube now or Rumble or listening to this podcast. It's better on Rumble or YouTube because you can see the pictures. Okay. Jared and Amanda Miller were sovereign citizens. If you don't know who they are or are familiar with them, they believe in a certain idealism that the laws that affect you and I, that we, amend our lives to, does not apply to them. They think that they're sovereign. They have certain rules that apply only to them, and the rest of the sheep don't have to do it, right? And so they have this unique, mindset that they're very against law enforcement. Okay, I've arrested a sovereign citizen in my career. Man, what a shitstorm that stirred up, man. Lawsuits and all kinds of crazy stuff because they're just different, right? This particular group, Mr. Miller and his wife, were part of the Bundy standoff prior to, right? But they were so batshit crazy that even the Bundy folks said, hey, you guys need to get the hell out of here because you're trouble. And they kicked them out, okay? So they come to Las Vegas and they set a plot in place where they were going to go and kill some police officers. They happened to choose randomly 2 patrol officers who were patrolling in Las Vegas that just happened to be eating lunch at a CC's Pizza in Las Vegas, decided to suit up, go in there, and 100% execute Officer Glenn Beck and Ingor Soldo. Now this cut me to the core, guys. Now, was I buddies with Glenn and Igor? Did we hang out and drink on the weekends? Negative. They were brothers in blue in the same city that I worked in and patrolled in, and it hit me hard. In fact, my wife called me because I was traveling when this happened, and she said, I don't care where you are right now, what you're doing, when you get home, I want you to quit your job. Because these two guys were in CC's Pizza eating lunch, and some asshole decided to show up and just murder them. So what happened? Jared and Amanda walked through the restaurant, saw where the cops were sitting, went outside and loaded up multiple handguns. He had a shotgun over his back, went in there and straight up executed these heroes as they were eating lunch. They had no chance. They stripped off some of their clothes. They threw swastikas on their body, like neo-Nazi type bullshit, and threw it on their body. Walked next door to Walmart. Jared walks into Walmart. Can you imagine? You're in Walmart and some asshole walks in there with a 12 gauge and pumps it. Boom, fires a 12 gauge round into the air and says, the revolution is coming. Now, as you can imagine, people were scrambling and running like crazy. And there was a guy who was a CCW, we call it in Nevada. We call it an LTC here in Texas, a license to carry or concealed weapon permit, right? He was in customer service. He tells his buddy, he goes, man, I'm going to go stop this guy. I'm going to go take him out. I don't know what kind of firearm he had, but he had some type of handgun. And he walks past Amanda, who is with a shopping cart. By the way, she had a shopping cart with a duffel bag full of ammo. They were not there for a short fight. They were there on a suicide mission. He walks past Amanda, trying to get a bead on Homeboy or Jared so he could take out the shooter who just fired that round in the Walmart, and doesn't even see her as a threat. Walks by her and she straight up lights him up in the candy aisle and kills him graveyard dead right there. When they found him, he still had a gun in his hand. Was he a hero? Yes, he tried to do the right thing. But sadly, he was another person that died that day. And what happened next? Of course, the cavalry shows up. You know, everybody's coming in hot. I happen to know the gentleman who shot and killed Jared. Amanda was hit in the shoulder and then shortly thereafter took her own life, right? Now, why do I tell you all this? I'm just telling you all this because this is kind of crazy shit you have to deal with when you're in law enforcement, right? And it only gets worse from there because life goes on and weirder shit happens. Right? So let's go back a wee bit. Now, I know these are out of context time-wise, but it's important for me to illustrate a point. Now, you may know these two faces, right? This is the Zanariev brothers. I hope I said that correctly. Forgive me if I'm wrong. But these two assholes decided to go make some IEDs or improvised explosive devices. They made them out of crock pots. And they went down to the Boston Marathon. Talk about a low-life piece of shit, has nothing better in their life, to go there and kill innocent people that are just running a marathon or there to watch it happen. Zero empathy for these guys. Zero. Scum of the earth. Inherent evil. You can hate me if you want. I don't give a shit. Evil. They go there very methodically. They go place their bombs and they place them amongst the crowd where people are going to be finishing the race and just waiting for them to go off. Okay? Because of their bombing, right? They literally killed 3 people and wounded hundreds of people with their IEDs. Okay? Sad, horrible reality. Now, the good news is my police department decided to say, hey, guys, for those of you who are part of the Fusion Center, you're a FLO or a Fusion Liaison Officer, myself. I was the FLO for Henderson. One of my good friends, Braden, shout out to you, buddy, love you, man, was also a part of the FLO program. And we would teach classes. But more importantly, we got sent to a class, a really phenomenal class put on by this guy by the name of Todd McGee. Todd is a friend. He was a teacher when I met him. When was this? It was like 2014, I guess. 2013, late 2013, early 2014. I get to meet Todd, and he had this awesome program he came up with called behavioral detection. Now, what it basically does, I'm going to say a bad word. It's called profiling. But it's not profiling your race or ethnicity or your criminal behavior per se. We're profiling behavior that is out of the ordinary. So think about it like this. If you went to the mall and you wanted to watch the crowd for a while, what are you going to see? What is the normal thing you're going to see? You're going to see people going around shopping. Hey, I got my kid with me. Let's go into Gap. Let's get some jeans. Typically, they're smiling, they're happy, they're pointing, they're looking, they're shopping, right? How would someone show up who showed up with ill intent? Like if I were a suicide bomber, or imagine I'm in a bank. What do you do when you walk in the bank? You walk in the bank, you have your checks or your papers or something in your hand, or maybe just going in there to withdraw some money or whatever. But you don't walk in and look to see if they have security. You don't walk in and look and see like where the freaking cameras are. You don't give a shit because you're there to get your money or your ATM withdrawal, whatever you're there to do. Okay. Bad guys show up with evil intent. They're there to hurt, harm, or kill, or do something bad to other people. So they have a different mission. Just like Muhammad Atta, who showed up at the airport to board that flight to go into 9/11. I talked about this on a previous episode, right? The young lady at TSA said that guy stared right through me. Like he wasn't physically there. He was like in a trance because they're not there to go get on a flight to go on vacation. They have a different mindset. They're there to hurt, harm, and kill, right? And so when you deal with those type of people, you have to handle it differently. So I went through an amazing training, a week-long class put on by Mr. McGee. By the way, shout out to you, Todd. Awesome job. If you want to learn more about his class, they have law enforcement version. They also have a civilian version. Go to PHI, PaulHenrietta Training.com. You can get more information on that. Now, the reason why they put us through this training, because I was a Fusion Liaison Officer. I was certified as an instructor. I started teaching his course. Awesome freaking course. We taught Metro cadets. We taught Henderson cadets. But they wanted us to be prepared, God forbid, if someone showed up in Las Vegas to do a copycat crime, right? Now, if you've never been to the Las Vegas Strip on New Year's Eve, it is batshit crazy. It is insanity. Like there are 300,000, and no, I'm not exaggerating that number, people on the Las Vegas Strip that are just there to party, get drunk, and every single year, some asshole accidentally kills himself or falls into the pond at the Bellagio. We had guys who died because they climbed up on lighting fixtures and fell and cracked their freaking melon because they're just drunk and being stupid. But most of the time, it's just people having a good time partying and nothing bad happens. Now, I'm there. Now, this is, gosh, what date was it? It was December 31st, 2014. And I was already planning my exit from the police department. Like I had already told my wife, hey, you know, the Igor and Glenn got killed in that CC's Pizza. I'm out. I'm going to turn in my paperwork and shit. I'm out of here. I'm going to go move to Texas. I'd already made up my mind, but I still had my shift to do. I still had to put in my 2 weeks notice and do all that kind of stuff, right? And so I'm down there. I've been trained in behavioral detection class a whole week long, and several of us had. And they put us undercover on the Las Vegas Strip. Okay, the Strip on New Year's Eve is insane. Look at this crowd. Okay, this is a small piece. Crowds like this in front of every major casino. Now I'm down there, and we're communicating via radio. Now my buddy Glenn, I'll just call him Glenn. I don't want to bust him out with his last name. My buddy Glenn and I were working together. I had a big trench coat on because it was freaking cold, and I had just plain clothes. I had a pack set or a radio, and I had my duty weapon, my Glock 17 on me. And we were undercover, hanging out, man, just chilling. And I was down there in front of the Venetian. If you've ever been in front of the Venetian, now granted, this is 2014. I know they built some new hotels since then, but you were in front of the Venetian, you had the wind to your right, and then a whole lot of nothing on the other end of the Strip, right? I would call it the east side of the Strip, right? On the east side, right? Meaning if you came from the wind and beyond, it was like a whole dark spot, right? So I'm standing there, we're watching the crowd. There was a big concert behind me. There were these three very attractive young ladies, blonde ladies, playing violin in front of the Venetian in an outdoor concert. This is like 11:45 p.m., okay? And so we're 15 minutes away from the fireworks? All the great shit's about to happen. And if you've never seen the fireworks in Las Vegas, they're pretty freaking amazing, okay? But I'm down there, and there's literally, I had to guess, somewhere between 5,000 to 10,000 people in front of the Venetian area. Okay. And then off to the west, off to the east, nothing. Black, dark. Because if you're in Vegas back then, once you get past the Wynn, there was a big dark area before you got to downtown Las Vegas, which they also had their little party down there too. There's a big gap, right? There's not a whole lot of people in the non-casino area. Okay. So me and Glenn are down there, and all of a sudden, my partner chirps me on the radio. He goes, "Hey, Griff, do you see this guy?" And I say, "Yeah, I see him." So there's a guy coming out of the east side, and I couldn't tell a whole lot at first because he was probably 200 yards away. Now, keep in mind, guys, I just gone through a week-long training about how to spot someone who shows up with the intent to kill. And as soon as I spotted this guy, every hair on the back of my neck stood up. Like, I can't even, I'm almost like I'm reliving it right now. This guy had a backpack on. Now, think about you if you go to the mall with a backpack. How do you normally wear it, right? You'll wear it over one shoulder. You kind of, hey, we're going through the mall, we're shopping, we're doing our thing, right? Now, imagine I'm baselining in my crowd, right? I'm looking at the crowd. What's normal, what's not? People are drinking, having a good time. They can't wait for the fireworks. They're partying. It's New Year's Eve, right? They're all into it, right? And here comes this cat out of the east side, out of the darkness, and he's wearing a backpack. And the first thing that I ever noticed about him was he had a freaking death grip on the two straps. Now, he didn't have one strap over his shoulder. He had both straps. And I remember, it almost seems like 100 yards away, I could see the whites in his knuckles. He had a freaking death grip on the straps. And I was like, oh my God. And I remember thinking, Boston Bomber. And then to make things worse, I look at his backpack and it's sagging. Like it looks like it's loaded with concrete blocks. It's so heavy. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And my buddy chirps on the radio, goes, "Hey, do you see this?" Again, man, I see it. I said, I'm going to start maneuvering that way so we can cut him off. Now, this guy is about 150 yards from this very large crowd. Some little picture I have on the screen here, right in front of the Venetian. And I was like, we can't let him get to that crowd. Can't let him do it. Okay. Let's go stop him and see what's going on. Okay. So as we're trying to maneuver, now imagine you're in a mosh pit. That's what it felt like. I was in a freaking mosh pit. I'm trying to get through this crowd, get down the stairs, get down to the strip where I can get closer to him. And here's the thing. As soon as we start to move in, now he doesn't see me or my partner. As soon as you start to move in, he starts speed walking towards this crowd. And I'm like, oh my God. And about 100 yards away from the crowd, he takes the backpack off, sets it on the ground, reaches in and does a little twisting motion like this. Puts it back on and starts speed walking towards the crowd. Now, a couple things I start to notice. He's from Middle Eastern descent. He has a tan line on his face. This means he used to have a beard, but now the beard's gone. So if you know anything about extremists on the Muslim side, prior to going off and becoming a martyr, they will shave their body. It's one of the things we learned in this class, okay? Now, I'm not saying you shave your body. It's okay for the police to hurt or kill you, right? Certainly not. And I'm not saying all Muslims are bad. I have a lot of friends of mine that are Muslim. I tell you, there's some Christians that are batshit crazy too, right? But I see this guy with his tan line and his backpack, and he just did a little twisty thing in his backpack, and now he's motoring towards this crowd. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I have to stop him somehow, some way. And my buddy chirps me on the radio. He goes, "What are we going to do?" I said, "Look, dude, I'm just going to take the shot. I can't let him get to that crowd." Because everything that I have learned has told me, stop this guy or he's going to kill hundreds, if not thousands of people with an IED or an improvised explosive device inside that backpack because it was sagging heavy. So I pull my Glock out and I'm trying to get a bead on his head. I'm trying to line up my sights on his head because I'm thinking he might have a kill switch in the jacket where his hands were. He may be holding something, so I have to shut him off. You ever learned about human anatomy? If you hit him in the triangle, right? Triangle being here to there, it shuts them off. They can't even pull a trigger. They can't hit a kill switch. Now, I'm a marginal shot at best, but I had made it up in my mind that I'm taking this guy out. He's not making it to that group, and I'm going to shoot him in the head. 100% I made that decision. So now I'm trying to get a beat on him. Now keep in mind, the back of my mind, Middle Eastern guy. Does he have a weapon? I'm not sure. Here I am, a white cop. I'm going to get crucified. And I'm trying. At that point, it didn't matter. I was like, I'm totally going to kill this guy right here, right freaking now. I'm going to shoot this guy in the fucking head, and he's going to be dead, and I'm going to save all those people over there. But the sad reality was, it's Vegas Strip. Thousands of people are there. Kids are running around. I'm not sure they should have been there, but there were kids running around. A bunch of drunk idiots running around with their big, tall glasses and all this stupid shit and having a great time, which they should do. It's New Year's Eve in Las Vegas. You should go party and have a blast. But I had no good backdrop. If I fire and I miss and I hit a kid or hit somebody else, I couldn't live with myself. So I said, you know what? Fuck it. I got on the radio. I said, hey, Glenn, tell my wife I love her. And I clipped the radio on my belt, and I ran at this dude. I fucking tackled him, and we carried him across the other side of the strip and dumped him on the sidewalk. And my partner came, I started screaming. I was losing it. I was like, you're fucking dead. You're dead. I'm yelling at the guy. And now, of course, everybody's noticing me. They didn't notice me walking around pointing my gun at him. They had no freaking clue. I dumped this guy on the sidewalk, and I'm screaming and yelling and acting a fool. My buddy's like, hey, Griff, get back, get back. And here's the sad reality. The guy was some tweaker, dude. He was spun out on dope or whatever he was on. He was on something. He had a backpack full of laptops. And we're asking him, like, what were you reaching in your backpack? Like, oh, I was trying to find my iPod. Now think about this for a second. Can you imagine what the headline would have been? White police officer shoots unarmed man New Year's Eve on the Las Vegas Strip. Now, could I have justified my actions, said, hey, based on my experience and training, this guy was perceived as a threat, not only to me, but to this public at large. So I took an action to take him out. Could I have gotten off? Probably. Would I have been crucified and forced out of law enforcement and forced into reclusion for the rest of my life? 100%. Scary, sad reality that a lot of cops have to deal with. They are constantly judged by a Monday morning quarterback who can look at everything with the hindsight of 2020 and go, yeah, they should have never done that. Put your happy ass in that situation, see how you react. Or God forbid, go do a ride along and go see and deal with what the cops have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, and then look back and go, oh, maybe I was wrong. My dad always told me, he said, son, never judge a man until you've walked a mile in their shoes. That's one story of an OIS that happened to me. I have a couple other good stories for you guys in the future, but I really thank you for being here. Please like and subscribe to the show. Find us on Spotify, iTunes, or anywhere you would find a podcast. Please do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button. Hit that subscribe on YouTube. If you're on Rumble, please make sure you follow us as well. And take care of each other. Life is short, and there is a lot of evil out there, but we don't have to be a part of it. One of my favorite mentors said, be the change you want to see in the world. So if we all rise up and do things a little bit better, we're going to have a better place to live. So until next time, God bless each and every one of you, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care.
I never imagined a love like yours. Through all the endless nights, you were the one I was searching for, looking for the one that was worth it, yeah. And all this time, you were right here by my side. You were right here. Through all the pain and the heartaches, now it's all messed up, and I'm walking out, slamming the door. And now I'm into the dark on a wild horse, yeah, with nothing but my thoughts.